Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. Recently, I've been asked a lot of questions about how I got where I am today. So in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I wanted to find mentors, people that I could learn from, that had more experience than me, that could help guide me along, and kind of like show me the ropes. He helped me out a lot, gave me a lot of advice, kind of took me under his wing. Maybe you'll be able to help them in some way, or maybe you'll be able to hire somebody who they recommend, or maybe you'll just be a sounding board for them. Hey, can you help me set up a meeting with so-and-so? Even if that person ends up leaving you and going to work somewhere else, it's better to be known as somebody who gives great recommendations, even if those people leave and go work for somebody else, than to be known as somebody who holds grudges and does you and like to recommend people. It doesn't mean that they don't want to help you or they don't like you, and every single chef has taught me something different. I learned about hard work from one, I learned about creativity from another, I learned about leadership from another. Everybody teaches you something different. And so it's important to seek out different mentors and find people that you can learn from. It probably just means that they're super busy and they don't have time. Lift them up, because everybody deserves a shot. Everybody deserves a chance. Everybody's got problems. Everybody's going through something. So take the time to listen. Be a good friend. Be a good confidant. And if you do that, I promise you're going to be successful. Be a good mentor. Be a good leader. Take care of your people. So respect that and move on. As I look back on my career, I can honestly say that the relationships that I've built, the friendships that I've made, that's what I value the most. The awards, the accolades, the recognition, that stuff is great. It's nice to be recognized for your hard work, but it's not everything. What really matters is who you surround yourself with, the relationships that you build, the friendships that you make, and also if somebody comes to you and asks for a recommendation. Chances are they're probably asking you because they respect you and they think highly of you. And that's the way I try to live my life. And I think that's the way a lot of people should live their lives. If you're struggling, if things aren't going your way, don't complain, don't whine. Just work harder. Find a way to make it happen. Find a way to overcome that obstacle. So by giving them a recommendation, you're saying, hey, I think highly of you as well. We're close friends. We hang out together, but we also help each other out. And that's important too, because sometimes you can relate to somebody better if you're closer to them, if you're friends with them, if you can relate to their lifestyle and the things that they're going through, because maybe you going through the same thing, or you've gone through it before. So having that peer group, having those friends who you can rely on, lean on when times get tough, is so important. So that's going to make your life that much easier, not harder. And I had a friend who went through the same thing, and so I could relate to him, and he could relate to me. And we helped each other out. We motivated each other to keep going, to push harder, to not quit. I'd like to get into the catering business. And he said, you know what? I don't really know them that well. Whether it's a recommendation or advice or to meet somebody, you have to remember that that person is busy and you have to respect their time. So when you reach out to them, make sure you're clear and concise. Don't beat around the bush. Don't try to sugarcoat things. Just tell them exactly what you need. Hey, I would love to pick your brain about this subject. Would you have 30 minutes sometime next week to chat over coffee or lunch or whatever? Be respectful of their time. If they say, I don't have time right now, then don't press it. Wait till another day and try again. If they say no again, then back off and move on to somebody else. But let me make an introduction for you, and then you guys can go from there. And so he made the introduction, and then that person ended up becoming one of my best friends. And now he's actually a partner in my company. So having that support, having those relationships where people will put in a good word for you, recommend you, refer you, that's so important. Maybe they'll call you and say, hey, what do you think I should do about this situation? Being able to lend an ear to somebody, being a good listener goes a long ways, because most people just want to be heard. Sometimes they just need somebody to listen to them. And showed me what it takes to run a restaurant at that level. And I think having somebody like that early on in your career is so important, because they can really help shape you and help you understand what it takes to get to that next level. But also having those relationships later on in your career is important too, because then when you have questions, you can call on those people and they can help you out, because they're so many things that you just do learn in school, that you need to know in order to be successful once you leave school and start working in the real world. Specifically, we're going to talk about building a strong culinary network. I think this is something that is often overlooked. People don't really talk about it too much, but it's something that has helped me tremendously throughout my career. And I think it can help all of us if we start to build our own networks and take care of each other. So when I started off in this industry, I was very young and I didn't know anything. In the beginning, I was very fortunate because I got to work with some amazing chefs, Chef Keller being one of them. And so what are you going to do for them? Well, hopefully down the road, I remember when I first started getting into catering. I reached out to a mentor of mine and I said, I always tell my employees if somebody comes to you and asks for a recommendation, don't hesitate to give it. One thing I will say is that when you reaching out to somebody and you asking them for a favor, don't take it personally when somebody says no. I'm lucky enough to have worked with a lot of amazing chefs, not only in the United States, but around the world. I have peers, people who are close to me who are not necessarily mentors. When I first started out, I didn't make a lot of money. I struggled a lot financially. My parents always told me that if you work hard and you honest and you treat people well, everything will work itself out. And if you're fortunate enough to be successful, then help others who are going through the same thing. Give them a hand, and I promise you're going to be successful. So take the time to get to know people. Be a good friend, be a good mentor. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.